Now, last night, Bill O'Reilly took aim at Bernie Sanders, saying that Sanders makes Trump look like Abraham Lincoln.
Truthfully, Senator Sanders has no chance either because he's a socialist, and America will never vote for a socialist as commander-in-chief. Be that as it may, Senator Sanders is competing well against Hillary Clinton in the small states of Iowa and New Hampshire. Nationally, he's 25 points down. Still not a bad showing for an uber-left guy.
Not a bad showing for an uber-left guy. But you know, America would... Well, we never elect a socialist. Maybe. But remember, Bernie Sanders is a democratic socialist. Like, you know, Norway and Sweden. Besides, FDR was pretty close to Bernie Sanders on the political spectrum, and he ended up creating two of the most popular and cost-efficient programs in American history. Programs that nobody would ever even think of touching. At least not realistically. Remember, Republicans say they want to cut Social Security and Medicare. But whenever election season comes around, oh, we're going to protect Social Security and Medicare. We're going to protect it. President Obama wanted to cut it. Remember Mitt Romney back in 2012. Those are two very popular programs. I wonder how popular a Medicare for All system would be once we get it in place. Just ask the Brits. You even think of touching the NHS? You get laughed out of the room. Same thing with the Canadian system. Socialized healthcare, pretty popular. Because once you have it, you don't want to give it away. Now, to the polling. Look, to be fair to O'Reilly, there's a new poll that just came out today. It actually shows that Bernie Sanders has narrowed the lead between he and Secretary Clinton. For example, according to this Monmouth University survey, Clinton is actually supported by 52% of Democrats and Democratic-leaning voters in the latest poll. She's actually down 7 points from the same poll taken last month. Sanders now gets about 37% support among voters on the left. Now, that's up 11 points from the same survey last month. Now, Hillary Clinton still has a 15-point lead. But remember, Hillary Clinton also had a huge lead last time over some guy named Barack Obama. Look what happened there. I'm just saying. Now, Bill O'Reilly is going to go on to misrepresent some of Senator Sanders' policy positions. Let's take a look at that.
Now, the media loves to mock Donald Trump for dubious things he says, but Sanders makes Trump look like Abraham Lincoln. Here's what Mr. Bernie wants to do. Destroy Wall Street and the big banks. Provide each American with free health care, kind of. He would highly tax affluent Americans to pay for the government-run health care industry. Private health insurance would be outlawed. Also, Bernie wants free tuition at public colleges and universities. Also, free child care for millions of Americans. Also, mandatory family leave, whereby companies would be forced to pay for both men and women to take time off after babies are born. The list of Sanders' freebies is endless. The unintended consequences are simple. A bankrupt nation. The nearly $20 trillion debt would double under a Sanders administration. Also, many American corporations would simply leave the country and go overseas. That would devastate the economy. Does Bernie Sanders not understand any of this? It is simply insane to tell the folks that you will destroy the capitalistic infrastructure.
There's a lot there, so we're going to have to kind of break it down piece by piece. First, Trump is Abraham Lincoln? Really? You want to compare someone who freed the slaves and tried to keep the Union together? You want to compare Trump to that? The only thing Trump wants to free is his money from taxation. But on to the substance, right? So, breaking up the banks. But Bernie Sanders wants to destroy the banks. No. Bernie Sanders wants to do no such thing. He wants to break them up into smaller, competitive institutions. That is not destroying them. Look, it's breaking up powerful, unaccountable monopolies in the system. These are banks that were so big that they couldn't be punished properly after crashing the entire economy and forcing taxpayers to bail out their risky behavior. They couldn't be punished for that because of their, quote, effect on the economy. Oh, it might take down the economy if we punish them. If they're too big to punish and they're too big to fail, perhaps they're too big to fucking exist. Simple as that. Besides, you have more smaller banks, you end up having and creating more competition. Yes, you're artificially creating more competition, but that's okay. You want more competition, especially if you want to have a free market. Hey, Bill, I thought you liked free markets. Now, there's actually no such thing as a free market. Sorry to say, but markets don't exist in a vacuum. They exist within a framework. And you want that framework to work for the American public instead of having it the other way around, where the public works for the banks to the benefit of the banks and the very few, which is what we have right now. All right. So here's the other thing, right? Health insurance companies. Now he's going to destroy health insurance companies. And please let me get the world's smallest violin. Health insurance companies have been ripping off Americans for decades, with rising prices, rising premiums, and lower returns on service. Would you really want to shed a tear for your local insurance company if they go out of business? Really? Really? Besides, under a Medicare for All, your health care will come from your taxes and will end up saving you money. Well, here's how. Right now, in your health insurance premiums, you are paying a for-profit agency. Now, what this for-profit agency uses a lot of that money for things like advertising and executive bonuses and all sorts of crap that actually doesn't go to taking care of you. You're paying for an insurance company to not take care of you, to use most of your money into bonuses and advertising fees. That's bullshit. If I'm going to pay into something, I want to get something back. That's exactly what you get with a Medicare for All system. It gets rid of that. Gone. No more executive bonuses. My money will go to my care. Besides, in other countries, they do this. Other countries with single-payer healthcare, they end up still having private insurance plans too. So this doesn't necessarily mean the death of the for-profit insurance industry. But what it does mean is a huge reduction in their power. You're taking away power from the insurance companies. And that money that you pay in from your taxes to your healthcare goes to your healthcare. I like that idea. Let's be honest. Everything that Bill O'Reilly is railing so hard against is stuff that other countries that are smaller and less wealthy than we are doing without a problem. Finland, Norway, Sweden were the only modern industrialized country without the promise of universal health care and debt-free higher education. We have turned essential things to our society over to the corporate elite. And now we're literally paying for it with costs that are so much higher for those services than anywhere else in the world. Does that make sense? Does that make sense? It does not make sense to me. Bottom line, Bernie Sanders, Senator Sanders, does not want to actually destroy the capitalistic infrastructure of America. That is false. That is bullshit. A bullshit lie from O'Reilly. Are you really surprised? No. Bernie Sanders doesn't want to destroy it. He wants to fix it. He wants to fix a broken system so that it works for the people and not the other way around. But you see, Republicans and corporatists and Bill O'Reilly and the establishment, they hate that. And they see Bernie Sanders as a threat to that. And that's why O'Reilly and the establishment are getting so goddamn nervous.